Hi, welcome to episode 1 of Burning Tires. I am your co-host Dylan with other co-hosts Brody and Connor. With us we have someone who can work on cars, someone who knows a little bit about cars, and someone. But anyways, today we're hopefully going to be talking about cars. I've said cars. Yeah, I know. Shut up. All right. Where do we start? Let's see here. How about we go around and talk about what our first car was?
Oh, I like that.
Mine was a 2006 Mustang. It was the base model.
V6.
Yeah, shut up. Brody?
I had a 2001 Jeep Wrangler. That was a 4-cylinder, so not much better.
Connor?
Honestly, mine's really no better. I had a 2003 Honda Civic. It was a Honda Civic Coupe, I should say.
Now, tell the audience what you did with that Honda Civic before we continue.
I sold it.
Yeah, he was an idiot.
I sold it after blowing up a lot of things like 3-4 times.
Dude, I remember him blowing that up in my driveway, and my dad was just so confused as to how he was able to get the coolant to leak and burn through the car. God.
What?
Coolant all over the lawn, bro.
Yes,
I
you
don't
don't remember that?
No, because I wasn't around like then. Like, I was around, but I was doing other things.
That's right, because he had just showed up at my house because he had it, and we were trying to figure out what was wrong with it. And he pulls up in the driveway. He parked on my lawn. He was on the grass part of the lawn.
Yeah,
and we were just sitting
like
outside.
3,000 vehicles in the driveway.
Yeah, and it was like my dad had come out, and we were just trying to figure it out because he talked about how it was smoking. And sure enough, the car's running, and we're looking, and there's just coolant like blow up, and it's all over the engine bay, and it threw up all over my lawn. It was so funny.
Dude, you remember when my Mustang did that in your yard too?
Yeah, my yard's kind of infamous for coolant blow-ups. My truck's doing that right now.
That's true.
Well, your truck's next then.
Yeah, except the difference is I knew what blew up in my car.
So sorry it hasn't blown up in mine yet. So sorry.
Maybe it'll blow up a head gasket. Funny enough, I was on my way. I don't know if you remember it, but I called. Who did I call? I called you, Brody, afterwards. Like that one day after school, I was taking the highway back, and I had to stop on the highway because my shit was overheating.
Yeah, because we were going to the gym.
And then I literally got home to get ready to go to the gym, and my shit just blew right there in the driveway. Like the cap to my radiator just blew the fuck off, and coolant was everywhere.
I don't even know how one does that. Like,
okay, look,
it wasn't me. It was the fucking.
It was the car.
It was the car. It wasn't me.
Look, dude, neither of you are in any positions to give either any kind of crap about having to have vehicle issues that involve me being there. I've had to rescue you both.
Yeah. Do you remember that time you had to rescue me from that parking lot after I went over the curb?
Yes, and you busted the wheel off the
rim.
The rim? Yeah. That was...
You mean the tire off the rim? The wheel is both. Come on, man. Get better.
Get better, dude. I wanted you to tell it. I'm just thinking here.
It would have been better if it wasn't 11:30 at night.
It was better than 11:30. It was like 12:01. It was
just left.
Mm-hmm. And I was waiting there for like an hour.
When he called me, and I had to go get my shit together and then leave. Speaking of that, what happened? What's up with your truck?
My truck?
Yeah, because you had to get that checked out. Did they tell you what it was?
Oh yeah. So I went to go get it checked. I guess I had. It wasn't too big of an issue. I'm glad that it wasn't like transmission or anything. I just had multiple loose heat shields. I guess they just tightened them up.
Oh yeah. Okay, that would explain why it was rumbling. That makes more sense.
Or like a few of them were like touching my exhaust, which is why the rumbling was happening. So
that is the silliest problem ever. Your car was just rumbling because it was loose.
Yeah, that's the best kind of issue to have, though. I mean. Did they end up charging you for that or what?
No, they just charged me for a diagnostic fee, which is great.
That's valid, yeah. I'm surprised they didn't charge you for anything else.
Anything else? Fuck is that supposed to mean?
Well, they wouldn't go, oh, we're going to charge you a labor fee for tightening all this up, which would have been like however much they wanted to charge you for labor, because dealership labor is absolutely insane.
No, I agree, but I mean at the same time, tightening something up. I don't know how easy it is to tighten up heat shields, but it didn't take that long. So,
Dude,
and they charge. I'm pretty sure they charge by the hour, and if it didn't take an hour, then they don't charge me. So,
I don't like dealerships.
Well, it's because you never bought anything from a dealership to get worked on there. It's all warranted.
I'm willing to bet that he'll never step foot in a dealership.
Well,
actually, well, I would never step foot in a dealership to get like my shit worked on. But the only thing I'd ever buy from a dealership would be a motorcycle. I'd buy a brand new bike. I'd never buy a brand new car. I like my pieces of shit that run half of the time.
Dude, I'll even go with you. You don't even want to buy older cars from dealerships like my Subaru. That was just awful. That was not good.
You should tell that story.
Okay, so I guess I'll give a rundown. So I think that must have been what, junior year into senior year that I bought that car, right?
I think so.
Yeah, because my fourth year of owning it this year.
Yeah,
and that was senior year when we did that.
I had my license when I had that. When you got that too.
Yeah, so senior year of me and Connor's high school year, Dylan's junior year, I ended up selling a Volkswagen Jetta that I learned manual on, and ended up going to a local dealership to us that I guess I should have done more research on before I bought anything from it, that is infamous now for just selling people not necessarily lemons, but vehicles that have issues, but they try to pass off with nothing. So I got a 2011 WRX there, sedan, black, actually really good condition when I bought it, but that was when I started driving, not starting driving manual, but started driving manuals that had like really specific clutches that you had to learn for bite points. And so I had probably had that car for a month, and I was driving home, and it had been feeling weird, and my clutch was mushy, and I couldn't get it to go into gear and stay in high enough RPM to run. And I couldn't figure out what it is, and I was so confused that I was putting like octane booster in my car to see if that's why my RPMs were getting up. Not the issue at all. Going home from school, I live on an uphill drive to get to my suburb, so I had gone around the first corner and was going up the second to get to the long way, and my car just could not accelerate. It would not go into gear. So I was so confused. So my car started smoking, and I was really concerned because I thought I blew my car up. I was freaking out. So I ended up pulling into one of my neighbor's driveway and left the car there because it was smoking out the back and up in the engine bay. So I was super confused. So Dad comes home, ends up just grinding my clutch all the way home. Turns out my clutch was just blown. I had the car for less than 4,000 miles, just blew up, and I ended up having to pay to get. I didn't leave my car there. Luckily, I had another vehicle at the time, my Jeep, and ended up just having to drive that, and got the car towed to a shop that my parents knew about that worked on Subarus exclusively. Got my transmission taken apart, put a new clutch on, and put back together, and then that was that. But that was $1,900 out of a car that I had just gotten, so I had to go have these with my parents and pay them back after I got fixed. So that was miserable, but that's why you shouldn't buy from dealerships if you're buying from pre-owned areas
or a pre-owned dealership.
Yeah. So
was that the same corner that the other two car problems happened on with your bike and my Jetta?
No. That was like on my road. Like you know how we have like
shit. Yeah, I do.
Yeah. Jeez, don't even get into the bike and the Jetta.
Didn't you come not face to face, but we saw the person that sold you that vehicle.
The car meet. He was like talking about it. Yeah. He was like, "Oh man, I remember burning the clutch on a Subaru that we sold," and I was like, "That was me." So yeah.
You said that right to your face too.
Yeah, I was like, "Dude, you're a goon."
No shame about it.
Hey man, if you sold someone a lemon, would you have any shame about it? I wouldn't.
Maybe.
Well, I would. I'd feel bad.
Having a guilty conscience about it.
Dude, speaking of that, like dealership warranties, like that dealership's warranty was that if we paid them $1,000 for a warranty, they would do $1,000 worth of work on the car, which has got to be the dumbest thing I've ever heard of. Like that makes no sense. What kind of warranty is that?
Bullshit.
That's not a warranty. That's just giving them $1,000.
I was like, what?
Giving them $1,000 in advance for free work.
Yeah, because my parents were like, oh, and then I'm wondering, I'm like, did they know that my shit was just gonna break? So they were like, oh, we'll just sell them a warranty so that we can just do that now. I was like, what? Because my parents were like, well, because I didn't think of this. Obviously, I was like 17. I didn't really care about a warranty. My car wasn't gonna break. It was. My parents were like, oh, what do you guys have for warranties? He's like, well, best we can do is $1,000. You pay us, and we'll do $1,000 worth of work. And my parents were like, no. So that was the end of that.
You remember when at that point in time when I had my Civic, but we were looking for a specific one, the SI, and we kept constantly going around to dealerships, and we eventually came across the NK, and literally, like, we stepped out to look at one of the Civics that they had, and like, just from the whole sketchy part about it, especially with what happened with your car. I didn't even know about the warranty thing, but I mean, that's like sketchy as shit. But like how they just came out to us and started being so aggressive with their sales and everything like that. Like, oh, let's go run your credit.
Yeah, he was like, oh, you want to come inside and run your credit? He's like, what are you looking for? What's your budget? I'm like, dude, what are you going on about?
It's really great because like that freaking D&K is like known for selling people lemons. They don't call it Dink Auto for nothing.
Interesting. Dropping it.
Well,
yeah, no, like we were looking around, like how old I was, like 16 years old, and they were asking to run my line of credit. Like, can we get you one? Like, we're gonna get you in a car today. I'm like, I get it's your job, but buddy, back off. I'm 16.
Yeah. I feel like even at like a regular dealership, like they saw kids, they would ignore them. I don't feel like if you went to any of the like brand new cars, they're like ignore you. But D&K, I don't know what was up with them. All of the times we ever went there.
That's just because they're a private dealership.
Or they gotta make as many sales as possible.
Yeah,
like the Honda dealership and the Dodge dealership aren't worried about trying to get us to buy stuff.
It's like Lee and Lee Auto, like them almost. They're not as sketchy, but they're definitely not the best in customer service. I went there to go shop around with for a car for my brother before he got my mom's old one, and we were looking at Lee's, and God forbid that you went in there and they were just the rudest people that I could ever imagine.
That's like the auto mall, right?
Yeah. Like the larger one over near the like all the Charlie's dealerships.
Yeah, that's the used one. Yeah, because that's where Ashton got his car from.
Didn't he have car problems?
EOS Hyundai. Yeah, that Hyundai was
the Hyundai?
Piece of shit.
Yeah,
still is a piece of shit.
Does he still have it?
Yeah, he just has a work car now, so he doesn't have to drive it as much.
Oh yeah, shit, you were telling me about that.
Yeah, so his like weekly is on their work car, but his still has to drive that Hyundai around whenever he's doing other stuff. Still has all the check engine lights and the cell light. It's like, dude, ugh.
He hasn't fixed it yet?
No, well, that's the thing is that they got the whole block replaced. They literally got a whole block replaced, and insurance covered, like, I think it was close to $3,000 worth of work on it. They put a whole new block in, they machined the heads, they did everything to that engine, put it back in, and it's still giving check engine lights. It's still running like it's bogged down the whole time. Because he had a whole ordeal where he had to work with them and work with his insurance because they sold it to him, and they had even gone as far as to, like, what did he say? They sanded the heads down to try to get rid of the buildup that was on there, which made it even worse. And then he was like, why did you guys do that if you could have just done it right the first time? And they were like, well, you didn't do the right braking period of driving it for 500, 600 miles after that. So had this whole ordeal, and then just got the car back, and they still didn't even fix it. It was insane.
Interesting.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Buy from sketchy people off of a Facebook Marketplace, you will never have any problems. I swear.
It's like when I sold my Jeep.
What happened when you sold your Jeep?
Well, so I had a whole bunch of like people that were like, well, because I had it listed for like $1,500. So it was a 01 Jeep Wrangler with 140,000 miles on it that was leaking oil. Had a bunch of rust spots, typical Jeep stuff, nothing crazy. And that was really about it issue-wise. I think it needed a tire. I think one of the tires was bald, but that was it. And I had a whole bunch of people ask me about it, and I was like, no, I'm not going to go lowball. People were like, well, I'll give you $1,000 for it right now. They're like, the rust is just so awful. I was like, it's not even that bad. Like, you just have to know what you want to fix. So eventually, had a couple come out and look at it, and he had already been by the house to look at it before, without even like me knowing about it, because we had posted it outside of our house. So he had just seen it locally and came to go look at it. And eventually they texted me, and they had come out to look at it, and he had come over, and I hadn't touched that Jeep in probably months. I was always like, I'm gonna fix it up, and it was never gonna happen. It was just a money pit essentially, and I ended up just switching out the parts I had on it, and I think I sold it with like a 2.5-inch lift kit on it. It was a 4-cylinder. It was nothing crazy. And he came and he was like, "Wow, yeah, you there's like leaking oil," and I was like, "Yeah, I'm not working on any of that." But he had owned a whole bunch of Jeeps and had modified them and did rust work on them all by himself. So I was like, "Dude, if you want to buy this from me, I will sell it to you for less than $1,500." We agreed on 12.5, and that was good. And I see it all the time now. It's at the place I work at. His wife drives it, so they fixed all the rust on it. So that's somebody where they knew what they were getting themselves into, and that's the one thing that I was like, I don't want to sell this to some kid that's gonna be like, wow, can't believe I got my first vehicle and it's a POS that doesn't work. So
I thought you were gonna like share an actual sketchy story, because I have a sketchy story. When I sold the Mustang, these two old people, they messaged me on Facebook. They were like the only first people that were like, "Can I come see it?" And like had like it seemed like they genuinely wanted to like look at it. And so I said sure. And so they came, and it was this old guy and his wife. They showed up in, I think it was a Lincoln. It might have been a Mercedes. It was some V8 car. And they took it for a test run. They liked it. But I like warned them that I drove it in the winter and such. And that I replaced a bunch of the stuff because I beat the hell out of that car. I was surprised it was still running by the time I sold it. It passed inspection. I didn't sell anybody a lemon. I promise you. It ran fine. I just broke things because I didn't drive maybe the safest. And they took it for a test drive, and ultimately they wound up giving me a good chunk of money for it. And they didn't want to trailer it to their house. And I wasn't going to pay for that. And so I decided to agree to their sketchy idea of I ride shotgun in the Mustang to their house, and they just bring me back afterwards. I didn't tell anybody I was doing this. They could have, like, got my car with me and, like, drove me somewhere else, and I would have been gone. But I trusted them, and I got there, and then, like, I got out of the car, and the first thing that old lady did is she looked at me and then lectured me on getting in cars with strangers, and I'm like, hey, man, I wasn't worried. I don't know why.
I didn't even know about that.
But yeah, the risk of being kidnapped.
I did, and I made it back home. It was fine. I didn't want to. The only reason I was iffy about sending them is because I didn't want them to have my plates. Is because I had special letters on my plates that meant a lot to me, and I didn't want to just like let them drive off with it. I wouldn't care if they drove off with it illegally like that, anyways. But I just wanted my plates, and so I got in the car.
Weird to me. As long as I've been kicking it, we've always had like spare plates, at least 2 sets of spare plates. Or you take plates off the car that you're going to take it with, you know? Like, I've never come to get a car and been like, left my plates at home. Can I borrow yours? Because that's the same thing when I bought the truck. That dude had a plate that pretty much just spelled out asshole. And then he was like, I'm keeping these. You can't get plates like this no more. And I was like, fine by me. I got a spare set of plates. So I don't know how people do that.
Yeah, we have definitely never done this. We've never driven cars with legal plates. I swear.
Yeah, no.
Nobody would ever do that. I don't know what we're talking about. But yeah, no, I feel you. It was like when we took the Jetta home. Except that dude had like a whole wall of plates, and he just like picked one up. I'm surprised we even made it home in the Jetta.
Well, yeah, then you left home and didn't make it home.
I did, yeah. For note, when I bought my Jetta, I paid like $1,000 for that car, and I started driving it around. I inspected it, had like no rust. Everything looked fine. It ran good. It like shifted nice. The interior was like ripped to shreds, and that's why I offered him $1,000. The little thing that none of us knew, and he didn't know either, is the timing belt was splitting in half. And so me, who couldn't drive manual very well, after I bought that car, I went to go drive it around just like the town I lived in, and I took a corner, and the timing belt snapped, and I was wound up working on that car for like 6 months. I replaced the head like twice, and I wound up having to put a whole new engine in it, which worked. It ran up until like a month and a half ago, I think. One of the sensors died on like the bottom of the block, which caused some of the fuses to go. And of course, it being a Volkswagen Jetta, I had to order some of them from across seas. I called them fuses, but it was relays. Broke some relays.
Oh, well, I mean, hey, we're all having issues, so, what could you do? It happens.
Yeah, except like Connor's is his bolts are loose for his like.
My issues are significantly less severe than both of yours.
Yours isn't like the Subaru's bad idle or the Jetta not run itis.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I looked at more than one car, buddy.
hey man, I fell in love with that car way too fast.
Yeah, you did it. Now look where you're at.
I don't regret it. I don't regret it. I should have bought an RX-7.
I would say look where you're at, but your Jetta's in the exact same spot that it's been for how many months?
A month.
It moved. Yeah, it moved.
It did.
Then it stopped moving again.
Mm-hmm. It
Don't
moved.
check yourself, bud. You don't get it.
It moved for like 2 weeks and then it didn't. But yeah, no. I luckily had my grandfather's Jeep as a spare, and that's what I've been driving since. But yeah, no. Yes, I do want to hear.
I was gonna say, do you want to hear a story of when I sold my Civic? I had there was a few people that were very interesting to me that came to look and try, like, test drive the car and all that stuff. And I had this. There's two in particular. There was the one that actually bought the car, and then there was one like way before that. I had one woman that came up. Like, it was like first car for her son. Her son just turned like 16 or something like that. He just got his license, so he was looking for a car. And the Civic being my first car, and tired of fixing it all the time, I decided to sell it. So an 03 Civic Coupe is not very spacious to the tall, I should say. This woman's son was like 6'7" or some shit like that, which at 16 was really amazing to me. But she came with her son to try and get, like, just to test to see if he could even get in the car. And for whatever reason, he was able to get in the car, but literally half of his body was hanging out of the door.
That's great. That's
like
wicked.
his legs took up almost all the space that was in there. The seat was all the way back that it possibly could have been, and this kid just did not fit. Like, at that point, like, we told her before, she messaged beforehand, and we told her it probably won't fit your son, especially if he's that height, because the car was small enough as it was. But she decided to come anyway. And I was so confused as to why they even came, if both of them knew that he wasn't going to fit. And then they were discussing on whether they actually really wanted to buy it or not. And I'm like, you probably shouldn't.
Yeah, if you can't fit in the vehicle, don't buy it.
What do you mean, guys? I'd love to buy a GT 60.
Couldn't be me.
And then the second one, the guy that actually bought the car, this guy was like, I can't remember how old he was. I want to say he was like it was like 29 or 30 years old. And so this guy was, for the most part, pretty young. And he was looking for a beater to go back and forth to work. I want to say it was like Augusta to Lewiston, like, every single day, except for one day out of the weekend. I'm like, for an 03 Civic that has, like, over 300,000 miles, you're asking for a lot for a beater.
I mean, I think that's all he needed.
Bulletproof. It's bulletproof.
Exactly. It was cheap.
Apparently to him it was. I mean, I only sold it for $1,000.
If I'm not mistaken, all you really had was like it was probably thermostat or like your radiator or something.
Yeah,
I don't think you had a really like difficult problem to fix if you know what you're doing. In that Civic, you just don't know what you're doing.
Well, in that sense, I had no idea what I was doing. For what when I took it to when I did get it fixed before I sold it. I didn't just sell a broken car that was still overheating.
I don't know why you didn't just like drive it even after you fixed it. Like, what?
Because I had the opportunity to have my mom's old car, which at the time seemed significantly better than just going to buy a new one that would have had more problems than the one that my mom drove, because my mom is very particular about her driving. But I had it fixed. It was some issue with like the battery not being connected to the AC or something like that, so my shit was overheating or something along the lines of my. It had something to do with my battery. Period. So my car wasn't being cooled properly, but I just ended up having the radiator replaced and my battery replaced, and it was all fine. So, but this guy, again, 30 years old, and he came to look at it, and he bought it for $1,000, and he was telling the story of how many cars he's owned in like the last like. So I guess since he could drive, so since he was like 16 years old up until in the last like 15 years that he's owned somewhere close to like almost 250 cars.
Oh my god.
What?
Yeah.
How?
It's completely insane to me. He was telling the story, and I'm like, why have you bought? I asked him why he bought so many cars, and he's like, oh, I just buy beaters. Like, there's no point in buying a new car. And I'm like, this is an interesting story from you. You could have just kept all that money and bought a new car and not had to have these issues.
I mean, like, I understand buying a beater, but like, if it's not gonna last you more than like a year or two, don't even like. That's not a beater at that point. That is just garbage. It's garbage. Because like the Jetta, I bought it as a beater for like $1,500, and I wasn't aware of the timing belt, so it seemed fine. But if the timing belt was okay at the time, I probably would still be driving it now, and it wouldn't have blown up, and I've had to go through the whole process of getting it fixed. But even then, I'm still trying to get it fixed because I feel like it's better to fix what I have than go try to buy another car.
What are you driving now again? You're driving a Wrangler?
Yes. God, I hate the Wrangler so much.
The poopy Wrangler. Dude, don't act like it's the Wrangler's fault, bro. Jeeps are good.
Nah, that Wrangler.
You literally have one of the most uncared for Wranglers in the state, probably.
It was my grandfather's, and he has some issues. He can't get around very well, and so he just kind of let his car sit in his yard for like 5 years. And the only people that like drove it were like people he would lend it to, which were people that should not have. And nobody was looking after it. Nobody was taking care of it. So by the time my mom got a hold of it from him, so he couldn't lend it out to people, I got it because I didn't have a car, and because mine blew up. And my God, we had to like replace almost the entire floor. Half the thing was rust.
I was gonna say while you were explaining that
I'm gonna say this. I'm definitely not driving it right now. And it still has other issues. Like I had to like I'd replace a starter, and the rear drum brakes don't work. The solenoids just do not work. I think I have to like completely replace them and do new lines. And supposedly it had new lines on it 2 years ago, but somebody took my grandfather's money and ran with it.
It would have been easier. It'll be easier for you just to swap them to disc brakes, to be real with you.
Probably, but like I don't know.
Drum brakes are atrocious.
Yeah, they are.
I mean, you know me, I'm a brake connoisseur, to be real, so.
Yeah, you like are changing brakes every weekend for some reason.
Yeah, dude. The left driver's side, the driver's side front brake needs to be switched on my truck now.
I'm gonna say this because saying that changing brakes all the time makes it sound like you race. No, you don't. You like baby all of your cars, and you still have to like change brakes every single weekend.
Yeah, I think I've changed more brakes as a singular like individual than you, him, and our other friend combined. I think.
Yeah, well, him hasn't. Connor, have you ever changed brakes?
I've never changed brakes.
He doesn't count.
Pads. I've changed pads, not by myself, but I've done.
Connor,
what?
Connor, changing pads is known as changing brakes.
Well, then in that case, okay. Well, you're speaking to someone that doesn't really work on cars for a living. I don't have a broken car 24/7. So.
I'm sorry. I don't either. It just seemed like common knowledge to me.
You do have a broken car all the time. Actually.
Yeah. Shut up. Yeah. You do have a broken car all the time.
Oh yeah, the Bronco. The Bronco.
Where's the car now?
Not running.
No, post Mustang, bro. You've had a broken vehicle pretty much all the time.
Yeah.
First, first it was the Bronco. Now it's the
when I had the
Now
Mustang,
broken ass Wrangler, bro. I don't want to hear it from you.
Well, the Wrangler's technically not mine. It's just what I'm driving. Hey, at least my motorcycle's not broken. That thing still is fine.
Yeah. Well.
It's not pretty, but it's not broken. There's nothing wrong with it.
Well.
You say well, but there isn't. God.
Well, get it inspected then.
Right now, you have the worst track record out of all of them.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
It has an inspection sticker on it.
Yeah, it's not valid.
Hey, man.
That's like, dude, I see people with like yellow stickers, and I'm like, how is that even possible? I see like 19 to 20. I'm like, that is crazy.
Oh my god, that is absurd.
Oh, there's some dude that lives like near where we work with a silver WRX that has a yellow sticker on it, and he'll like drive it occasionally, and I'm like, how is that even possible? Like, just take it just get it inspected.
You know my shitty ass neighbors that hate you guys.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like the old people that I live next door to. They have two cars. They have a newer car. I want to say it's like a Honda CRV or something like that. It's like, if I had to take a wild guess, it's probably like a 2021. Honestly, it like brand new. But they also have another vehicle in their garage that I see them drive occasionally. That shit, I shit you not. The registration sticker on it says 1999.
No way.
Oh my god.
Let's go.
I shit you not. It says 1999.
God, why? Well, I think that thinking about the Connor's neighbor who has a car that last time it was registered was 1999 is a great place to leave this off. And if you're listening to this, thank you for listening to the end. And have a great rest of your night.
Thank you for listening to the end.
Oh my gosh, I messed it up. Leave me alone. It's the first episode. Goodbye.